Mr. Fitz Jackson, MP. My mother told me that provocation is sin. But it's not me, he is the provoker.
How do I start? Let me just say, good morning, church. Good morning. Let me recognize our guest speaker and our husband, our principal here. I haven't seen the chairman as yet. But everybody who's are all special this morning, I greet you well. You see, I deliberately didn't start with Reverend Marshall at the beginning. I don't know how to start with her, to be honest with you. Every time I go anywhere, I come in your midst, I must be prepared for some mischief. And the advice is not only here, it's everywhere. You see, she talk about me follow back on her. I don't know who following who, but we meet up many places. And she's showing off, you know. Because when we meet up at many of these places, and I go and sit beside her, she said, why you come stone beside me for? But she glad to come stone beside her. So show off, show off. Why we come stone beside her? It's indeed a pleasure. As she has indicated, we have been working together for a number of years. And it's a relationship that has been quite fulfilling. Yes, we have fought some battles together. And you may say we are still fighting some. And it has been fruitful. And those battles, in most part, brothers and sisters, is towards a common purpose. Service for our people. And seeking to enhance the quality of life for each and every one in their individual space and in the collective space. I remember I just referred to go into much detail. One point along the journey, I had to have audience with a very senior member of the church. And I indicated, I said, as MP, I have no authority in the church, but your congregation is my constituency. And in that regard, I have some responsibility. So let us see how we can navigate it for a common good, that common audience, that common constituency of congregation and geographic parliamentary constituency. When I got the notice about this morning's service, its purpose and its theme, it was without hesitation to check what else I have to do this morning, but to put it in, because this is an occasion that I must be present. I just mentioned a moment ago about the commonality of purpose between Dr. Marshall, your church, and my office. And I deliberately say my office, that of Member of Parliament, than myself personally. Because the office of Member of Parliament has a particular responsibility, whoever happens to occupy the office. Like Dr. Marshall, I'm a country boy, born and grew in rural Jamaica, back up in Lloydersville, northwest of here. I am quite fortunate to have had the benefit of growing up in a family with my mother and my father. my siblings. But I am even more fortunate to not have been raised and loved by my mother and father and siblings. And by the way, I'm the last of 8. Well, last of 10, because my father had 2 children before he met my mother. So it was 8 between my mother and my father, and then 2 before. Coincidentally, eldest of the 10, I was her caregiver until she passed a couple of months ago at 96. She usually goes every time I go to the doctor from test and so to remind them that I am the baby, I'm the younger one, and she's the eldest one. So she established her authority. So I recognized from early years in my late teens that I will always be a baby in my family because I'm the last one. And I mentioned those 2 things to really convey the impact, essence, and value of family, caring for, and a sense of responsibility, and what comes with it also some sense of duty and responsibility. But I was most fortunate because I was a child, and still is, of Lloydersville. I was raised by that community. In Lloydersville, I'm Mas Latty's son, I'm Miss Fitz son, as the pet name for my mother. I was their child, and they cared for me. And I will share with you, even up until today, though I don't live there, I've lived there for many years, but kept on going up there. I still have a sense of duty to them, even in my own conduct, because I'm still a child of theirs, a child of the community. I was parented by them, and somehow it is stuck in my mind that I have a duty to them, not to let them down in anything I say and do, because they are my parents. My biological parents have passed over 30 years ago. My parents lives with me every day up to today, and has shaped me. And I said to people, whoever I am, it as a result of the parenting I was the beneficiary of. And I tell you, upon becoming a parent myself, there's kind of some instilled duty and responsibility that right now I can tell you, as I've said elsewhere, the most challenging job that I have had in my life is not being a minister or MP or any business endeavor, being a parent. And I can tell you, becoming a grandparent now, it has been one of the most fulfilling things in my life, personally, of being a parent. Up to this morning, before I came, I was talking to one of my sons who is in the UK, who is going to be a new father. And after the conversation was over, I must tell you, it was a wonderful feeling having that conversation. All of that I'm trying to underscore, ladies and gentlemen, the intrinsic and overt value of parenting. Our society is shaped first by the values, the teachings, and the experiences in the family. In the family first, and then in the community. And there are many communities in a community. There's a community of the school, there's a community of the church, there's a community of the Citizens Association, there's a community of the Neighborhood Watch, There's a community of the sporting teams, whether it's netball, volleyball, football, cricket, that family of persons, coming together of persons. We have multiple families in that community. That's what shapes a nation. That's the foundation of our nation. And so as Member of Parliament, and we speak about nation building, we can't have a goodly built nation if the foundational structures within the communities are not in place and intact. And this morning's service, which is to highlight that focus, becomes a signal item of importance for all of us. You see, one of our major challenges are problems really in Jamaica. We talk a lot about the our problems, but we are not sufficiently engaged to resolve the problems. So the problem will always exist. Do we know about it? But what do we do that can ameliorate that problem? And it's just some very basic things. You don't have to be very bright. I'm talking about bright or not being bright when I speak academically and so on. As a child of the country, grew up around poverty and hardship. I tell people, if it was poverty caused criminality, the whole of Jamaica would have overrun and a whole heap of murder. Because the amount of poor people that we have in Jamaica. If they were to involve in criminal activities because they are poor, we'll never be here like this. What makes the difference is our own value systems, our own convictions, what we instill in young people, what we instill in our children, and the children around. That's what really makes the difference. And we can just start there by seeing the next child as our own child and having a responsibility for them. So they can't do this and do that, and it's okay. When I was in Lloydersville and I go up the road, and if I do anything I know before I reach home, my mother knows. And I have to be. But my mother was like the minister of local government, you know. My father, 1.5 times I get beaten from my father. Yeah, the runway in the middle of one, that's why it's only half. I got a full one already. And the full one made me have to resolve not to get a complete one. So it ended up being about 1.5, or 1 fraction. But the routine disciplinary things was my mother. And for some reason, I won't say I'm biased, but my mother was like a special place in me. And the importance of that point, simple as it might sound. I remember one occasion, me and my sister that I followed, we usually get into trouble together. And whatever we do, mother had a beating. Well, in this case for me, I dodge out the beating all evening. And go sleep. My mother take me out of the bed in the morning to give me the beating. And the thing to get free from. And running underneath the bed from the beating. I hit the bed with the iron rail and run underneath. And I never burst my head, I bust my head. And it was bleeding. And my mother took me and was washing off the bleeding and so forth. But she quarreled with me the same way about what I do it. While she was caring for me, she was nonetheless instilling discipline. What I did. The same person. And I repeat that little story because for me it's a very profound statement. Caring does not mean the absence of discipline. They go together. I lived it. I don't read about it. I lived it. I see it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamaica belongs to all of us. All of us. and we have to take charge of it. Truth of the matter, too many of us have been reneging. Here in South St. Catherine, I can speak to it. In my earlier years of being MP to now, it's very different. The community-based organizations don't exist as they used to be anymore. Just last night, I was next door over by Greater Portmore High for SDC community consultation. It had to be altered because of the level of participation. It was far insufficient to arrive at collective goals without participation. And I experienced that right across the constituency. And when I speak to others elsewhere in Portmore, it's a similar situation. And I speak to colleague MPs across the country, it's a similar situation. We have surrendered our communities, but yet we criticize and complain about its denigration. We can start from parenting to recover and rescue our country, starting with our families, and I will probably touch some toes now. Even within families of members in your church, they don't exert that parental authority on their child or children. I've seen instances of it. Amen. For whatever the explanation is given. I always say every misbehaving child in a community belongs to a home. Where is the parent? Before you even go to police, start there. Being the domestic policeman or policewoman right there. Saying all of this to say, ladies and gentlemen, we having recognized the importance of parenting, we have to go beyond that. We have to be actively engaged in mitigating the challenge. By what we do. As the Bible tells you, we are guilty of sin not only by commission, but by omission. Failing or refusing to do what you can do. What you can't do, you just can't do it. You have to worry about that. I don't worry about what people tell me that I don't do. I focus on doing things, however few they may be, what I can do. And if you focus on what you can do, you'll be surprised to see the transformation. So let me not detain you anymore and cause my dear friend to not pull my coattail, but push me from away from the microphone. My dear sister, I now invite you to resume your moderation. And I'm taking charge of our church. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr.